Oh, hi there. Um, I wanted to make a video just under 24 hours ago. There was a CBC live stream video, which I guess aired on YouTube and probably television, with the defense minister, Harjit Sajjan. I keep forgetting his name. It's because I don't like him. I think he's a blithering incompetent, and you look at him as he's speaking. And, he's just repeating stuff over and over again. Anyway, this was in support of military families, and he discussed how they were relocated and how that caused a lot of anxiety and stress and that sort of thing. And the man had to continuously look down at his notes to speak. And I know it was live television, so he has to be very careful about how he says things. Sometimes you just blurt out a word that's not the word you meant to say, and it can be taken out of context, especially when you're talking a little garbage like he was, because, he just spun around the same old, tired old rhetoric that doesn't actually mean anything. Like, oh, we're putting more efforts in this department. We're trying to ease the burden, blah, blah, blah. That's the kind of junk he was saying for the most part. There was some things he said. He said, oh, we're going to put $6 million into the veterans from when they're presumably when they're returning. And for starters, you are not doing anything, asshole. That is our money that we put in. I don't think a single cent came out of your East Indian pocket. Um, I would be astounded if it did. I mean, I shouldn't just judge this guy by looking at him, although he'd judge me by looking at me, to tell you the truth. That's just what East Indians do. Perhaps he had a troubled childhood, went through some really, really hard times back in India. So, the reality is, perhaps he's a fraud and a puppet. Perhaps he doesn't give a shit about families, the stress and anxiety, and all that other sort of stuff. He just doesn't care. Um, near the tail end of his bit during this live stream, Doug Ford took over afterwards. I didn't listen to what he had to say. I skimmed through it quickly, but I didn't pick up anything. He was looking down at his notes too. And remember, this is these guys' jobs. I don't need notes when I'm telling a story, but evidently they do because maybe that's part of the deception is they want us to think they're dumber than they are. Um, but as it were, it is my honest opinion that they are dumbasses. But anyway, yeah, so this guy goes on about this 5-year-old daughter of a veteran and how she was constantly being relocated and it was very stressful for her. And she was seeing a therapist and specialists and things like that. And anyone who knows me don't like those type of people. Those people are trash. Uh, I mean, no 5-year-old should be exposed to those kind of misery vampires. Because the first thing they want to do is give you medication. And it's like, how about you go on a bridge and do a somersault off of the bridge? Go do that. Because, you know, just get the fuck away from a 5-year-old girl. And that should be common sense. Anyway, they said, or what was his name again? Hold on, I gotta check. The East Indian guy I was talking about. I really don't like him, so I make it a point not to remember his name. Harjit Sajjan. That's his name. Harjit Sajjan. Um, you know, he he you know, he is so bogus and so bad at his job that it's embarrassing. There was a point I was gonna make, but I got distracted for a second because I was trying to remember what his damn name was. Now I could see that being a reason why people need their notes. All I had to do was write it down on a bit of paper, do a quick look down, take 2 seconds, and I could have carried on and I would have not been distracted from the point I was going to make. But anyway, let's forget about that for now. Um, Harjit Sajjan, what a stupid sounding name. Like, seriously, it's like something you would, I don't know, call like some sort of some sort of earth metal found in a mountain or something. Anyway, yeah, so this man, I believe, probably did have to earn his way up to the ranks and, become the poster defense minister, the one that talks on the TV and is very deceptive in the way how he illustrates his intelligence. Because you gotta be able to pick up these little things. And, part of me going, he probably doesn't give a shit about things is because he comes from India, okay? Like, where fucked up stuff happens all the time. And, like, you go, well, that shouldn't change somebody's empathy for things that are still bad, but obviously of a lesser nature. And it really shouldn't, but it does. Like, I gotta deal with bureaucrats and things like that, and they're despicable. They really, really are. Sanctimonious. I think they're all that in a bag of potato chips, and they're not. And, you know, uh, defense minister, you're getting up there. It's like human life, human discomfort, all that mean nothing to him. And some girl going through the system, probably getting all kinds of medications that she didn't need and was better off without. Assuming his story's true at all. I mean, obviously he's didn't give any sources or anything like that. I wouldn't expect him to. I wouldn't trust him even if he did. But what I'm getting at is that they're out of touch. And, because of the savagery that goes on in other countries, somehow it's first world problems, and it gives these type of people, it enables them to go, well, it doesn't matter if this person's experiencing life a lot harder than they should be, even though it would be easily for them to, fix that problem because they look back at things like what's going on in other parts of the world and they make the comparison and they go, that's just the facts of life. Well, not that I believe he is the real defense minister, but I don't even think he should pose as the real defense minister. From what I see, he looks like a piece of trash who would do anything to anybody. As I said, I don't think he's that dumb necessarily. I mean, although he appears to be, I suspect that he's commanding forces in India and that the Indian government, is divided. And I think that's part of the reason why he's in this position in Canada is because he's serving the interest of Canadian military in India because, it's a shit show over there, literally. There's all kinds of conflicts that you don't hear about over here, and nor should you really, because I mean, third world savagery has no place in Western civilization. And I know that's, it's going to garner a lot of people go, why, you bastard. But, old Thanos, it's inevitable. He's going to make his way to India. Do the math. Uh, anyway, we're not going to talk about Thanos, but I'm just saying, this guy is abysmal. And I know he's a fraud, and he's a fraud within a fraud within a fraud within a fraud. It's a puppet. So, you know, I'm sure he's, got very, very low opinion of, the veterans. The veterans don't mean anything to him. They're just worker bees, peons sent to do the work that needs to be done. To him, it's nothing personal, and he wouldn't miss a second of sleep over it. I mean, he's got to watch out over his, curry-stained beard because he probably has to deal with people, saying a lot harsher things to him than I am. And he's definitely self-interest is his main prerogative. And it doesn't matter if he's part of the Canadian government or not. I mean, people go, well, if they're part of the Canadian government, they're for Canada. And, that isn't actually true. Um, it's the enemy within, and it's the same with a lot of other countries. Um, Sometimes it needs to be done, sometimes it happens and people are unaware of it. Um, and, sometimes it wasn't supposed to happen, but it did. But there are people in power in Canada that do not serve Canadian interests. And this Harjit Sajjan is one of those people. I do not believe he's in the interest of real Canadians. He is not a real Canadian. He's a bogus one that got there for corrupt, vile, and probably because he's very ruthless. Those are like 99% probably the reasons there. He's probably some wealthy warlord over in India, is what it is. And I don't think that should be an acceptable reason for why someone should be appointed to be a defense minister of Canada. Um, I mean, Justin Trudeau, trying to play the PC, we're all friends kind of thing. And, really, it's just like, no, that's not how things work. That's not how the Canadian government operates. You'd like it if I was a simple country bumpkin and I knew how to pick a potato and I like to watch hockey games and discuss about how the referees are fixing it. And you'd like it if I got confused with reading a book and things like that, going, how do you read this? It doesn't have any pictures in it and things like that. That's how they want people. They want people to be dumb, or they want them to be highly skilled at one thing and it preoccupies all their time, such as being certain types of bureaucrats and things like that, because that's just all they have time for. And if you have focus all your time on one thing, unfortunately, you're completely oblivious to other things, and in that way, you're stupid. Um, so anyway, I probably should have heard what Doug Ford had to say, but I didn't, um, because I really want this defense minister. I want him ousted. He should not be there, for various reasons, and you're not going to hear a lot of this on the YouTube. In fact, YouTube will probably, throw this video in the dustbin and try and forget about it, or it'll maybe even go on the dark web because I contradicted Justin Trudeau and his Liberal Party of pieces of trash. Anyway, those were some quick thoughts. Just wanted to throw those out there. That someone going on the television speaking like that, it says a lot of things that you got to be able to pick up, and it doesn't necessarily mean the words that are exactly coming out of their mouths. And as I said about blurting out something, not, it's just a word, it may sound similar to the word you were going to use, and it's a completely different word, it gets taken out of context, blah, 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 blah. But the thing is, this was the defense minister speaking on live stream. They can instantaneously edit that. So even if he did blurt out a word, when he's grumbling under his, goat beard, that could be edited to the point like instantaneously where no one would it would be seamless. Not that the live stream was steady anyway. So anyway, those were my thoughts. And if this video garners hate, I've done my job. Thank you for watching, and go fuck yourself.